Hey, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am so thrilled that I get to share this brand new eyeshadow palette with you all. It's one that just released this morning. I am extremely lucky because Influencer actually sent me this palette to review for you all and on my Instagram. So the palette that I'm talking about is the brand new Pat McGrath Labs Celestial Odyssey palette. Like, what? Influencer sent this to me? How crazy is that? I didn't even know Pat McGrath Labs and Influencer were a thing. I had no clue. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. We're creating these two eye looks. I'm going to be going over my thoughts on this palette. We're going to do swatches. I'm going to compare this to last year's Christmas release, which was the Celestial Divinity palette. And yeah, it's going to be a whole thing. So if you're interested in this palette, maybe you're thinking about picking it up, you want a little bit of background, if that interests you and you want to know my thoughts, you want to see how I came up with this look, please stick around. We're jumping right on into it. But before we do, if you're not already subscribed to my channel and you enjoy makeup and beauty content, you like first impressions, reviews, hauls, shop my stash, we got all kinds of stuff going on over here. If you like that sort of thing, please hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell while you're at it so you don't miss future uploads. Let's get into this palette. Alright, so before we jump into the eye looks, let's just talk a little bit about the palette. This is a $78 palette, so thank you, Influencer, because I didn't have to actually purchase this one. I'm so excited, by the way, that Influencer actually sent this to me to review. So if you don't know what Influencer is, let me just give you a little bit of background here. I joined them a few years ago, and what it is, you get on there, you do reviews of different products. Doesn't have to be makeup products. They do household items, food, pet stuff, baby stuff, makeup, all kinds of stuff. You do reviews, and then you also do something called snaps, and you basically are giving your opinion on all different types of products that they're asking for your opinion on, okay? Once you do that, they get a better idea of what kind of products you're into, what kind of products you want to review from them. So I've only reviewed makeup products from Influencer. Anytime they've offered me to review any other type of products, I've turned it down because I'm not interested. I'm a makeup channel. That is where my passion is. This is what I like to do. So I strictly review makeup on this channel. Well, beauty products. So I've done Bite Beauty Mascara. I've done Ole Henriksen. What did I get? The Glow 2.0 Dark Spot Toner. I've gotten the Makeup Forever, the Matte Velvet Skin, whatever the powder was called. I've gotten quite a few, and they're all well-known makeup brands. Nothing obscure. So this, though, this is a little bit different when you get Pat McGrath from Influencer. I was pretty psyched when I found out I was getting this palette. Again, this is a $78 palette. The unit carton is very similar to last year's. The way it's set up, rather. The designs and the color of it are definitely different, but the way it's set up, it's got this little flap in the back that you can kind of pull out and then, you know, release the palette in that way if you choose. So the unit carton and the palette are both designed very similarly. This is the inside packaging. And then on the back of the palette, we have all of the shade names of the eyeshadows. So this is also set up very similar to last year in the fact that it's got, which I'm not exactly a biggest fan of, these little strings here that kind of hold the palette open. I like to kind of be a little rough with my palettes. I like to be able to flip it all the way back. So with last year's palette, I actually cut those strings off. And after I share this with you all today and take pictures, I'm going to do that with this as well. I'm going to cut the strings. But this is the inside of the palette in all its glory. So there are 18 shades in here. There were 18 shades in last year's palette. I am going to show you a little comparison really quickly. So this was last year's Christmas release from them. This was the Celestial Divinity palette. And again, it had the shade names on the back. So if we're comparing the two palettes in size, this year's is just a little bit different, okay? It's a little bit bigger. So as you can see, we've got a little bit, you know, a little bigger that way, but it's also thicker than last year's. And let me just show you inside of last year's, okay? So the layout is also very different. It's all kind of uniform. I thought it was a little weird last year how much space was between each shadow, but whatever. But when you look at this year's, this is going to drive anybody crazy that's kind of like particular about, you know, the way their shadows are kind of set up, having all that negative space. As you can tell, there's, you know, a little bit different in the way that they're set up. Again, last year's is really uniform. It's all nice and neat. And then this year's is just a little bit odd. The inside is definitely different in the fact that this black piece, this black piece here is a hard plastic, and last year's was that cardboard material. And then, of course, the layout is very much so different. So anyway, lots different with this year's palette. The color story is also very different. I will say I'm a little surprised to see so many rosy tones. Should I be surprised, Pat? I'm a little surprised to see the rosy tones in this one just because we've seen a lot of that recently from her brand. But if you look in this palette, there's only 4 mattes. So in last year's release, we had only 3 mattes. We had a burgundy, a pink, and like a purpley pink. This year, we've got a pink, a light brown, and a dark brown. So, you guys heard me say this in last year's release as well. I really wish there was, I don't know, like we've got this deep color here that's got it's like black with green and blue sparkles in it, and we've got this green here and a blue here. I wish we had a little bit more variety of browns and less pinks, but that's just me. So let's quit jabberjawing. I want to get into these looks. I want to show you what I'm able to do with this palette. We're going to do the 2 looks today. If you all are interested in seeing more looks from me, let me know down below, and maybe I can do a couple of posts on Instagram or something, but this will probably be the only dedicated video I do to this palette just because of time restraints. So this palette's pretty messy, I've noticed. Obviously, I've already gotten in there and swatched it. If you've been here for a while, you know how I like to do things. I've already put my fingers in it. But it is a little bit messy. I did see on Influencer where a bunch of people that got this palette, it came broken. Now, I will say, usually Pat McGrath packs their stuff pretty well, okay? They package their stuff pretty nicely before you get it. This was not packaged quite as nicely. It came in a box, and then in the inside of that box was like the thin type of, like the thin bubble envelopes that you'll get, you know? It's not a whole lot of packaging. So I'm not surprised that theirs came shattered. I was lucky, mine is all in one piece, but I do notice some of the shadows are a little, like, loose. I don't know if loose is the right word. Easy to disturb. Anyhow, let's do swatches, and then let's get into these eye looks. So what I'm going to do, just to make this kind of go along a little quicker, we have 18 shades here. I don't want to bore you all with each single swatch. It's just going to take too long. I'm going to throw up the first row, the second row, and the third row, and then we'll talk about the shades, and then we'll move it along. All right, let's start off with this very top row of the palette. We have Saturn Sunset, Rose Venus, Gold Galaxy, Noir Moon, Bronze Nova, and Nocturne. All right, let's go over the second row. We have Galactic Glow, Sunrose Amber, Lotus Luxe, Lunar Haze, Electric, and Heavenly Body. And that is the first 2 rows of this palette. All right, and this is the very last row of the palette. We have Bronze Eclipse, Solar Flare, Nirvana, Corrupt Copper, Palladium, and Citrine Envy. And that is the palette. So, I want to try to do 2 very different eye looks just because whenever I'm testing out a palette, I don't want to do something that looks similar on both eyes. I want to try to make it look, you know, as questionable as possible. But look how messy this gets after just swatching it. Like, you see all the shimmers everywhere, the particles? Oh yeah, it's just super messy, so keep that in mind. If you like a very clean palette or all the mess like that bothers you, this could drive you crazy. Can I cut the little strings now? They're really getting on my nerves. I'll hold off for now, okay? I feel like overall, the tones in this palette are much like airier, if that makes sense. They're lighter than last year's tones. Last year's palette was a lot grungier than this year's. So this one is just a little bit more, I wouldn't really say toned down, but it's just not grungy like this one was. This one's got those purples, it's got that grungy green, the burgundy. It's just a little bit deeper. So I like the fact that they're very different. They are very different palettes overall. I think so. So this shade here, this is called Noir Moon. It's like this deep black shade, but it's got little, looks like green and blue glitters in it, or green and blue like sparkles in it. It's this one right here. That one is like really calling my name. Okay, let's just go for it. I think what I'm going to do just because I really don't have any other option. I'm going to take this shade here, which is called Nocturne, I think. I'm probably not saying that right, but that's what it looks like to me. And I'm going to blend that into my crease and upward and just really smoke it out, blow it out. That's what we're going to go in with. I mean, that is a dark brown. It's scary. Let's start very lightly. Ooh, look at that. Pigment. Which, you know, I like pigmented shades, but this is my transition shade. We're really going to have to blow this one out. Okay, okay. I mean, that was pretty easy. Not gonna lie. It doesn't look perfect, but that was easy. That was like one dip in the pan, too. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting that. It looks a lot warmer than that. Doesn't it? Like, look at that. That doesn't look like that shade at all. Wow. I'm afraid to dip back in. Holy Moses. Okay, then. Like, there's my transition shade. Done. I think what I'm going to do is pack that shade on this outer edge here and then blend it up just a little bit more to give more depth. By the way, that first brush that I used was the Sonia G Blender Pro. I use pretty much strictly Sonia G brushes for my blending. I just love them. They do exactly what I need them to do. But sometimes I use rougher brushes, Morphe brushes. I've got lots of other brushes too, but Sonia G is like, she's got my heart. But now I'm going to take the Rephr number 13 brush, and it is just a smaller crease brush or blending brush. And I'm going to use that to diffuse the line in between where I packed it on and where I blended. Because, you know, we don't want no harsh lines up in here. We're going to blend up and up. Up and up? Whatever. Why? God, this is so easy so far. I mean, it's one shade. Just to blend the two together, I'm going to take that original brush, go back and forth. Like, look at that. It's so easy. The reason why I feel the need to build up so much depth in that crease is because I have really hooded lids. And if I don't do that, you don't see any of my work. It just all lays on my lid and the little lump of skin here covers it. It sounds so gross, but it's true. So I try to really build up the depth here. That way it's visible. And I bring it up higher so it's, you know, so you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to take the shade Noir Moon. That one that I told you guys I wanted to use. I'm going to pack that on this outer edge here where I packed down the brown. Let's just start. Now this is what I'm scared of because it's a super crumbly shade. And I'm really worried it's going to leave a bunch of fallout. So let's hope not. Oh, a little bit already. So I think what I'm going to do is take this really beautiful blue shade because I feel like that will complement it really nicely. So let's do it. No looking back. Ooh, I kind of like it. So to kind of tie this look together, I'm going to take that deep brown that I used to blow out my crease with, and we're going to pack that on the lower lash line. This is actually a really, really simple look because I only use 3 shades, 2 shimmers and a matte. Just using a Sigma pencil brush, the E30. We gotta do something right here. It's smudged. Dang it. Whatever. I'm not gonna fight it. For inner corner highlight, there's really not a whole lot to go off of in this palette. Yeah, I'm not really not really gagging over the choices for our inner corner highlights, so I might be a bad girl and pull one from my collection. Let's take the shade Atlas from Terra Moons, and this one shifts kind of, it looks white on camera, okay, when I hold it like this, but there's definitely some shiftiness to it, and we're just going to throw that in the inner corner. We're going to do the mascara, maybe some brown eyeliner to really amp up that lower lash line, and then this look will be completed. Ooh, that's just what it needed. There's just something about an iridescent, shifty inner corner highlight that really sets off an entire look, right? That's what this palette's missing. In my humble opinion. I would say, I know it's early in the game and I'm still on the first eye look, but I would say in comparison to the last palette from last year, this palette is more for like your everyday consumer. The last year's palette had more multi-chromes, more sparklies, more like eye-catching shades, if you will. This one is a little bit more, like I said earlier, toned down. A little bit more everyday wearable, which, you know, that might be what you're looking for. Okay, so this is the first finished eye look after I added that Natasha Denona liner on the lower waterline. I even put a little bit on the outer corner of my upper lash line, and then I used the MAC Magic Extension Mascara over top of the Benefit Roller Lash on the upper lashes and just the MAC on the bottom lashes. And I think that's all I did to this eye, but look at the difference between the two. Like, look how dramatic. I really love it. I love the shadows. They performed really beautifully. You saw how easily that matte shadow blended in my crease. I thought it was going to be a huge problem using such a dark shadow to use it as a transition shade, and it was zero problem. No problem at all. I'm really thrilled about that. The next eye look is going to be very different compared to this one, just because I want to try to do a little bit of both sides of the spectrum here. We got the dark, the sultry, the kind of smoky look going on. The next side, I want to do something a little bit more toned down. I'm going to start off with the shade right here. It's called Sunrose Amber. We're going to buff that into the crease on this side, kind of like we did the other shade. I'm going to really blow it out because it's still kind of a deeper shade for me, and then we'll go from there. And because this applied so well over top of the ABH primer, I'm going to use it again. Okay, going in with the same brush. This again is the Blender Pro from Sonia G. Such a good blending brush. And we're dipping into Sunrose Amber. Oh boy. Again, a lot of pigment. Lots of pigment. I'm just going to try to be super gentle here. Now, I do have experience with Pat McGrath shadows. Well, obviously, like you saw, I have last year's release, but I also have 3 palettes of hers, like the bigger palettes, the more expensive ones. So I know what to expect from her formula, both, you know, the mattes and the special shades. And I feel like these mattes are creamier than what I'm used to, like super, super pigmented, but also way creamier. Super easy, it blended out really well. Not nearly as pigmented once you like really get to blending. Alright, taking that smaller blending brush, this is the Mini Booster from Sonia G. And same thing. I'm going to kind of lay it down here in the crease. And build up. Okay, I think what I want to do is take this really beautiful pinky shade up here. And this one is called Saturn Sunset. And we're going to start packing that on the outer corner as well as blowing it up into the crease. I may even go over top of that with that original brown that we used for the first look. I don't know yet. We're just going to go with like a pinky vibe for this look. Start packing her on. Whoa. These are such really beautifully pigmented shades. I wish Pat would make a palette. Here you go, Pat. This is a winning idea. I wish you would make an all matte palette with this formula, because it is thebomb.com. straight up. It layers beautifully. It blends beautifully. It's not patchy. Taking that Rephr 13 brush and blending that up as well. Like, look how pretty that is. That is so pretty. And it was so easy. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Taking that first brush just to kind of mesh the two a little bit better. I'm just deepening up this other brown. I just noticed I didn't take it up high enough. And we're just going to deepen her up a little bit here. I mean, we should expect no less from Pat. It's pretty expensive, okay? If you're going to buy a palette for $78, which again, thank you, influencer, because I didn't have to. Not to rub it in. But if you're going to spend $78 on a palette, then those eyeshadows better be top-notch quality. And I would say so far, I mean, I've tried the shimmers, but I feel like the mattes, even though there's only 4, they're fantastic. I really wish it would have more mattes in here. Just saying. The shimmers are nice. I just don't think that they're anything revolutionary. I don't need to go on my little rant about indie singles, my amazing, beautiful, sparkly, shiny, shifty indie singles, so I'm not going to do that, even though I just did. It's hard to impress me with those types of shadows because I've got a lot of really nice ones. So anyway, what are we going to do from here? Okay, to keep this just a little bit more on the pink side, on the punchier side, maybe I'll do this really bright pink. Like, I like that. I like that it's brighter. 5 pink shimmers. I mean, I think that's a little overkill, but that's just me. Don't come for me. Yeah, let's take this one because it's nice and bright. This is going to be messy. I'm going to have fallout because it's a very crumbly shadow. But I'm prepared. Kind of. Ooh, I mean, it's pretty. Nice, beautiful, bright pink shade. Should I just take it all the way over and call it a day? I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I feel like if I'm not going to drag that shade all the way over, there's only a couple of different options. I can do this one here, which is called Galactic Glow, which is probably what I'm going to do just because it makes the most sense. Whoops, this one here. I could do the shade down here, which is called Solar Flare, but I feel like it's not going to give me the impact that I want. See? It's going to be a little bit lackluster for me, because I know how I am. So, in saying that, let's take Galactic Glow. It's a very chunky, shimmery shade, like very chunky, and I'm worried I'm going to get it everywhere. But we're going to do it anyway. Ooh. I mean, I kind of like that. Okay. All right, Pat, come through. 2 very different eye looks, right? And I really like both of them. God, these cars. Y'all hear that? I did get some fallout on this side of the darker shade that I use, so I've got little specks of like brown and green. Or blue, whatever, I think it's blue. Not much I can do about that now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pack that. Ooh, I feel like packing pink on the bottom is going to look off. Maybe I'll do this one. Let's do this one instead. The brown. We'll pack that on the lower lash line. I'll put on some mascara, and when I come back, both eye looks will be finished. I'll go over my final thoughts on this palette. And yeah, let's do it. Let's get it. I'm going to take the shade Zero from Divina. Of course, showing it here, it just looks like a white shadow. It looks like it's nothing special, but I promise you it is. It's an iridescent shade, and it shifts pink. Oh, it's so pretty. Like, So these are the finished looks with the Pat McGrath Labs Celestial Odyssey palette. So let me fix my hair really quickly so, I look halfway human again, and we'll talk about this palette. I gotta be honest with you, I really love both looks. I think I like this one even better than this one. I had a really fun time playing with this palette. you know me, if you guys have been here, well, if you all have been here for a while, then you know me. You know the type of person that I am on my channel. I'm very upfront on what I feel about makeup. It doesn't matter if it was sent to me. It doesn't matter if I paid for it. I'm going to tell you the truth on how I feel about the product. Because I want you all to have the best information possible to make the most informed decision. That way, if you want to buy it, you know, this might sway your opinion one way or the other. And I don't want to be responsible for, you know, you being unhappy if you get something and you're like, what the hell? Michelle said this was amazing and this is trash. I really like this. And saying all that, this is a really nice palette. And I'm going to be upfront with you. When I first opened it and I swatched it, I was a little bit let down. And I'm going to tell you why. Pat McGrath is kind of associated with those special shadows. And if you have some of her $125 palettes, then you know what I'm talking about. They're very, I don't want to say iridescent, but they're very lightweight, shimmery, shifty, eye-catching. They're just special, and there's nothing else like it out there. Even in my indie singles, they're not exactly like the Pat McGrath special shades. Am I right? So, in saying all that, those types of shadows are not going to be in these types of palettes. This is $78. Obviously, if it's got 18 shadows in it, and the other palettes only have like, what, 10? And they're 125, then above and beyond the packaging, the other sacrifices a little bit of the quality. The mattes in this palette, they're fantastic. I love the way they blended. I had zero problems. I think you guys saw that. I really thought I was going to have an issue with those darker browns. I did not. They blended into just beautiful gradient, wonderful mattes. As far as the shimmers are concerned, I feel like they're nice. They're really beautiful. They're just nothing special. And I don't mean that to sound hateful, but they're just nothing that you couldn't find in any other brand. Well, maybe not some of your drugstore brands, obviously, but some of the higher end brands, they make shimmers just as good, if not better than these. But I really do love this color story. I love the eye looks that I came up with. I feel like it was super simple for me to come up with these looks. I didn't struggle. I didn't have any issues with like getting the blends between the shadows. Overall, really easy time using this palette. And I'm so thrilled that Influencer picked me to send it to. I mean, I'm not the only person, obviously. They sent it to quite a few people, but I'm very grateful that I was one of the people they sent it to. I wanted to do it justice by giving a full review of my thoughts, as well as kind of comparing it to last year's palette. You can definitely see there's a difference between the two palettes. They're just different. Like, the whole vibe is different with them, right? This one's just grungier, and this one's just a little bit lighter, and I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about it. I think it's beautiful. If you got the original, the Celestial Divinity, and you really liked the formula in here, then I feel like you'll really like the formula in their newer palette, because it's pretty much the same. There's like 5 different formulas. You have the mattes, you've got like this satin kind of formula, you have that more toppery type of shade, you've got, what else? This really chunky kind of satiny, shimmery, whatever that is. Like, there's quite a few different formulas, and I feel like they're probably the same between the two. The only difference is, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems that this one has more shifty shades in it. Like this one, I think even this one was a little shifty. There's more duochromes or multichromes, whatever you want to call them, in this palette as opposed to the newer palette. So if that's a problem, maybe you won't like the newer one as much, but I feel like this is a really solid palette for $78. It is Pat McGrath quality, and I really enjoy the eye looks that I created. So I hope that was helpful for you all if you've been thinking about buying this palette. I hope this helps in your decision making. If you all like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Not only does that let me know that you like this type of content from me, but it lets YouTube know, which means it'll push this video out there for more people to find, which means more people might make their way over to this channel, and I am so grateful when you guys take the time to do that. If you're not already subscribed to my channel and you enjoyed this video, or maybe you've been lurking a little bit and you've enjoyed some of my other videos, please be sure to hit that subscribe button before clicking off. Tap that notification bell so you don't miss future uploads, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.